Hello and welcome back to Speaking Specs, and today we have a special edition, probably a longer edition and a wider edition because I'm here with a rolling sausage, Scotty, and he's back for a holiday, so he wants to be famous again and taking a place on the white couch.
Well, that only took about 15 seconds for the first insult to come in, but yeah, so I'm just popping through the Powerslide office and I saw a lineup of frames sitting on Fatty's desk. And so I thought, look, that's not a bad little speaking speech we could do, and do a bit of a recap on kind of some of the evolution we've done over frames for the years and kind of how we've arrived at the pinnacle of Powerslide frames at the moment, the Powerslide Accell Carbon frame. So I'll jump straight in.
You have the history in your arms.
So I got a couple of historic pieces out of the Powerslide collection. So I guess talking a little bit about frames in general, there's a few things that people consider when purchasing frames. There's things such as obviously weight, there's things like stiffness, and then there's details around the length and things like that, because different things have been in fashion at different stages over skating over the last few years. I mean, this frame I'm holding up right now is an icon frame. It's Powerslide's first icon frame, and it's a high-low version. And this was really big in fashion, even with senior men. So guys like Jan Guider actually won a world championship on a frame like this because it was that little bit shorter. Jan was a little bit lighter guy, so he'd always favour something with a bit more agility and a little bit lighter weight over something that was bigger and stiffer. So that's where that one really came into fashion, and kind of 15 odd years ago, that was our pinnacle frame. And then the Triple X has always been a constant kind of throughout the years because it was extremely stiff, great power transfer, extruded three ways, hence the name Triple X. And then that was always kind of constant throughout all different things. So from top sprinters using it, right through to guys like Bart setting all those record-breaking incredible experiences in Berlin. And then kind of running parallel to everything was a couple of different things. So we had the VI frames, we had our first attempt at a carbon frame, which was just over a decade ago now. And so there's been a few different things at play, I guess, running there.
Yeah, like you said, I think it changed a little bit over the years, you know, the taste and everything, and some were let's go really stiff and really hard. And on the other hand, you know, there's like more the feeling of skating and have a nice feeling, like even when you get a little bit older, you don't want to have the stiffest anymore, and you know, it's harder on the leg. So like a frame which is more forgiving, actually it's obviously nicer to skate on. So even it doesn't get the power directly there, but long term, you know, it's a smoother and much nicer feeling on the legs actually, with a frame that is maybe not the stiffest overall.
The other thing, just cutting off Fatty there because I want to get my words in. The other thing that's really important to consider, like with all these trends over the last kind of 2 decades of frame design, has been wheel sizes. So way back when Powerslide first started, frame design was 84s, even 90s, and then it crept into 100s. But now when you're looking at 110s, obviously, and 125s, there's so much more different forces at play. And also wheel design with things like the inner bands and things like that have also changed kind of how the overall skate feels as it's skated, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So going through the history and coming up to the, you know, the carbon frame basically here, it was like, yeah, the first carbon frame was a learning process. It was nice. We had the foam built in. It's like a sandwich system. 195 had a bridge, everything built in, you know, the same mounting system for the axles that we have here, you know, like the machined bearing bosses glued and machined in. So this is something really nice and strong, but it didn't have the perfect power transfer and not the return of energy we were hoping for.
And a little bit of background on this frame, if I remember correctly, Bart Swings back in 2012, when he was in his romance stage with Ewan Fernandez, actually raced the Berlin Marathon on these. So there's always been a little bit of a love affair there, not just between Ewan and Bart, but between Bart and kind of carbon fibre and marathons and things like that.
Yeah. So now for sure, like we talk about this, you know, he's on the carbon fiber frames right now. And talking about the history of the frame, when we had the Icon frame, you know, the Accell frame here, it's basically really following the design of our Icon frame, which is probably still one of the best designs in skating ever. A lot of machining work, really nice 3D work, but it was light. It was still stiff, but it also had some flex, and there was a little bit forgiving. So the same we wanted to achieve with the carbon fiber. So having a sandwich construction here too. It's stiff, but still at the same time it's a little bit forgiving and very nice to steer and navigate with the skates.
So the reason that might sound a little bit mixed messaging there when Matthias is talking about stiffness and a little bit forgiving, but from what I understand, the guys have engineered it in such a way that they've tried to make it like an overall skating concept. So what that means is it's how the boot, the frame and the wheels all interact as one. So rather than just trying to make the stiffest frame or the lightest frame, they've tried to make it kind of an overall concept so that it gels and develops to ultimately make you faster.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Probably if you go to really a super stiff triple X, if you go just for the last 200 meters in the spin, probably, you know, this will be the more power transfer and maybe a little bit faster frame. But if you go look at the whole marathon or like a long distance, you know, this is much more what you want to have, because, you know, you can go for a higher speed for a longer time. And I guess this is when you see Barty cruising at the Berlin Marathon, or Jason or Felix, you know, they can maintain their super high speeds with this frame for a long time, and they are right on this threshold. And, you know, not only the frame pusher works, it's like the bearings, the wheels and the whole setup. Like Scotty said, it's like a Formula One thing. So you have to find the perfect setup. And if you talk to our guys right now in this year, they said, well, right now we are super happy. We have the perfect setup for everything what we want with our wheels, the bearings and the frames.
And that's a really good point, because I mean, what was it, kind of 6 years ago when Bart did that amazing performance, might have been longer, on when 125s were introduced. Kind of the next step, obviously conditions and race tactics and things play a certain extent into a 56-minute marathon. Kind of the next step is kind of little details like this, where we're kind of carving out really, really tiny details and tiny gains to make things faster.
Yeah. So coming back at the final ultimate weapon, you know, the Accell carbon fiber frame, we have now available at 3x125 in two sizes, 12.8 and 13.0. They both have a dual mounting, so they fit 165 and 195, and they are both at a weight for 144 and 146 grams, so they're very, very lightweight, yet stiff, and very nice power transfer. They had, like Scotty said, you know, the guys tested different layups. We had 3 different layups: a medium, a stiff, and basically a softer one. And in the end, actually, it was between the soft and the medium one. So what they really like for the long distance best. So it's not the very stiffest, but like we said, overall, the concept and the cruising speed for a longer distance, that's what they felt is the best.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of all the skaters out there, if it's working for guys at that top level who are incredibly efficient in their pushes and their technique, then it's not going to work for 99% of people in terms of stiffness and stability and power transfer as well. And also, probably even Matthias, with his power, is probably even going to be able to, this is stiff enough for him.
Yes, actually I'm on the very soft first sample, still without a print, so I'm more the soft guy, and even my legs are shaved compared to Scotty ones, who looks like a...
My sample must be lost somewhere and never made it down to New Zealand. It's probably still on the boat.
But yeah, talking about, you know, stiffness, the 4x110 setup is actually a little bit stiffer, and a different layup a little bit, front and back are stiffer, so it's more targeted to really track racing. And it's also proven on the track. Jacobo, you know, world champion, he won Geisingen, a lot of races, he won Groß-Gerau, a lot of races. So really on different tracks is also proving. So this is also not only light, but also stiff and really going well around the corners with nice acceleration out of the corners. And also great setup for the tracks here, the 4x110.
Yeah, so I guess that's a pretty good summary and a pretty good wrap up of kind of how the team arrived and developed on this frame. I mean, jumping into the carbon frame market. I know, especially in my previous time at Powerslide, there was a lot of discussions when, maybe, if, and I think the guys and Matthias and the team here at Powerslide and Pascal, they wouldn't have done this and brought to the market unless they were 110% confident in its success. So I think it's really a true credit to everyone who's been developing this and working on this behind the scenes, because I know it's probably 3 or 4 years worth of development that's gone into making this frame.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing, like you said, the whole team. And I would say Felix, Bart, and the guys on the team are probably one of the best, if not the best, testers in the skate industry.
And by best testers, he most picky and most pedantic about every single detail in the world.
Or, you know, they say about the little push, they say about the underway, they say here the top of the height of the frame, you know, the width of the mounting block and everything. So they're very picky about everything, and they feel every little thing on the frame, which all the non-top skaters don't feel.
You don't feel it?
No, I'm not feeling it anymore. So, but yeah, they are quite picky, and so yeah, when there's something out like this, they're for sure the best, and then they're happy racing on it and winning on it. So I guess that's one of the little secrets from the Powerslide team, which makes them so successful. They're really taking time to do something, and when it comes out, it's just simply the best.
Yep.
So.
All right.
Thanks, Scotty. We didn't make too many jokes about your shape and your everything, so.
Because you haven't seen me skate yet.
No, it's like we want to do the desk lab, but if you look here in the profile, it looks almost like, you know, this is something got a little bit bigger.
All right.
So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Maybe we do another one with Scotty while he is on the white couch.